I just saw the 2025 film Warfare. May I just add, from the beginning, go watch it. It's a very good film. It's actually quite nice to watch a film in the cinema in this modern day and age that isn't complete shit. And someone has actually put time, effort, and clearly cares about the subject matter and, you know, what actually happens in the film. Because most films nowadays is just whatever Marvel is pumping out, or the Minecraft movie. But no, this film is just clean cinema, and it is perfect. Well, almost perfect. 9.5 out of 10, all right? I know I'm structuring this review terribly. It's almost like I don't plan these videos. But the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is because there's a few very small sections in it where there's a little bit of CGI, which you can tell that there's CGI, and it's an A24 film. What's going on here, traffic-wise? Come on, guys. I know everyone wants to go to McDonald's because we're all fat, but come on now. The whole film does do a very good job of portraying all the characters as real people, which they are, because the whole film is based off of real people in the army in 2006 going through the very horrific event that they did go through. And it is a very simple story, but you know what the saying is, less is more. Simple story with a lot of love and detail and effort put in is a lot better than a complex story where people just can't be asked. But yeah, the whole film does a very good job of portraying these people as real people, because it starts off with a lot of, they all have their own banter between them and everything, which you would if you're in the army. I assume, I've never been in the army. And of course, when shit goes down and gets serious, that's when the tone shifts. Where am I even going? I'm going the wrong way. I would like to say at the beginning of this review that I have never been in the army, nor do I know anything about being in the army. I do have a friend who is currently in the Navy, so the same way if you have a black friend you're not racist, I basically know anything that you could need to know about being in the army. I am joking, of course. But from a normal civilian's perspective, it seemed extremely realistic and detailed. I know that the people who created this film were involved with the creation of the film last year called Civil War, which I really liked that film. I thought it was a great film. And one of the best parts of that film were the actual scenes when you're in the middle of a war zone. Obviously that was a fictional war zone, it was a fictional civil war, hence the name, but just watching, it was the most realistic depiction of a film that I had ever seen of the military doing their military things. And this film does exactly that, just 10 times as much, which is good, because as I said, that's what I enjoyed a lot about Civil War, and I think that's what a lot of people enjoyed about Civil War. So how they all interact with each other, all the shit that they shout at each other, all their abbreviations and codes, and how they clear a room and all of that, it's very obvious that the people involved in creating the film were very passionate about realism and getting the realism correct, which is good. It's based on a real story. You know, real people lost their lives in that scenario and had life-changing injuries in what happened in real life. So it's good that that the creators of the film are going into a lot of detail and making it as realistic as possible, because otherwise it'd be a bit disrespectful to the real life people who suffered in that scenario. And it would also be disrespectful to the audience, because if they made now I know the film that they have made, if they did a terrible version of that, it would be very depressing, because it is such a good film. Now it is not alright, I shouldn't say that. I was about to say it's not an enjoyable film, but it is a very enjoyable film. It's just a very dark film. You have to be in the mood for it. A lot of people wouldn't enjoy the film, or it would leave like a bad taste in their mouth, because you do see a lot of gruesome shit going on, which is very realistic, and it portrays the terror very well that these men went through, and the actors do an amazing job portraying what would realistically happen to a human if they've just, spoilers, if they've just seen their friend's legs being blown up. And it's not a rushed film, it's an hour and 40-ish minutes long, and the last 10 minutes there's a really good scene at the end where it's not the credit scene, because usually in films like this where it's based on real life, they'll do this sort of stuff in the credit scene, but it's part of the film, which is very good, where it shows a little bit of the behind the scenes of how they created the film and the real life people that were in that event back in 2006 coming onto set and meeting the people, the actors that are portraying them. And it also did this cool thing where it had two pictures side by side, one of the actor and one of the real life person that the actor's portraying. And I thought that was just really good, and it just adds to it to show that the creators of this film really care. I would not be surprised if they use the DJI Ronin 4D again, because number one, it's just a good camera, and it just looked like it looks very similar with how it was shot. But the cinematography is very good. It's nothing special or over the top because it doesn't have to be. The acting is what you're there for, and what's on screen is what you're there for. You're there just to feel like you're actually there in that scenario, which you do. It builds tension so well, and it makes you jump in the necessary points as well. And my God, the audio is so good. The audio and sound design is very good. I hate modern media like films or video games where firearms just sound so shit. They just sound as loud as like a food mixer. And it makes no sense, because I've never fired a gun, but I obtain common sense, okay? I know that guns, a literal explosion in your hand is going to be loud. And this film does an extremely good job. As soon as the first explosion and the first gunshots are fired, you are basically deafened. And it gets louder and louder as well, in certain scenes to portray all the noise and all the tension that the characters have to go through with the radios and all that shit. I saw some people in the cinema literally like touching their ears because of how loud it got. But it's almost like explosions and firearms are loud. They should be portrayed as loud. The best part in terms of sound design, and one of my favourite shots, was when they, spoilers again, when they had to call a fighter jet to come down quite low, just as a sign of resistance to basically scare the bad guys. And that was realistic as well, because all the dust and everything got kicked up. And how many films would like a plane fly low to the ground and just the main characters would just be standing there looking at it or some shit? This is actually a realistic film, which is good because I really like realism in films. I like realism in films where they're trying to be realistic. Most films fail at that, to be honest, but this did a really good job at being realistic and having extremely good sound design. There's a scene in it where, spoilers again, an explosion has gone off, and understandably everyone is temporarily deaf because a fucking explosion has just gone off. You would be. The sound design is just so good at portraying what it would be like to be deafened in that scenario. And when you're like, your hearing goes a bit or something, and or if you did that to your ears, you kind of hear your body, you don't hear what's outside. They did a very good job of portraying that through the sound design. And sound design is, at the end of the day, 50% of a film. And I think we forget that sometimes. There's no silly background music playing either when there is firefights going on or action scenes. There is a lot of silences in the film, which is good. The film is there to portray realism. Not all films need to be silent, and not have background music. But for this film, it really suited it. Back to what I was saying about this film not being for everybody. There are some very horrific scenes in it. Not like a horror film where it's like, oh no, but like genuinely horrific where you feel really bad about the people in that scenario, and you yourself would not want yourself or anyone you cared for to be in that scenario or a similar scenario. And I could see like a few people in the audience, because it was quite busy in the cinema today because of bank holidays, so everyone's just dossing about, including myself. I could see a few people in the audience just like quite uncomfortable when those scenes were happening, when the characters were in pain. Because how many action films do you see nowadays where a character's in pain and they're all stoic and shit, and it's all a bit stupid, isn't it? But not in this film. In this film, they did a fucking good job. I would not be surprised if it was the same director and editor as well as Civil War, because the style was very similar, even down to them both having the same font for the title cards. I've got to be autistic or something to notice that. I've gone the wrong way. Oh, what's wrong with you? I'm not even going home right now. I'm trying to get some KFC. Whoever was involved in this film clearly cared about it. And it really does show, because they've produced an amazing film, which I would recommend not everyone to go and watch, but if you appreciate good films and you're interested in realism and, I don't know, an actual decent... If you're bored of the shit action films that we've had in recent years, in the last 50 years, go watch this, because you will not be disappointed. You may be deaf by the end of it, but as part of the experience, I dare say most of the people who spend a lot of their time in the army firing weapons, even though they have ear protection, they probably do get some hearing loss. So it adds to the realism. You may need a hearing aid when you're done watching it though. Oh my God. The roads here are worse than in the war zone of the film I just watched. That really does say something about our British roads, doesn't it? Okay, that feels like a roller coaster. See what I mean? Time to get some chicken in me. It's just so tiring watching people in the army. I could never be in the army, in case you couldn't tell already. Shit.